A more sophisticated method would be to use what are known as gradients. And I'm going to show you how to use a radial gradient for this example. There is a linear gradient that you can go look for in the documentation, but I believe for this ball object, the radial gradient will be a lot nicer. I'm just going to comment this one out here because I'm not going to need it anymore. Okay, QRadialGradient. There we are. Let's call this rgrad, or radial gradient. Alright, so there is our radial gradient. Again, this is just an instance of a radial gradient, so I will specify the parameters that it needs directly into this constructor. Alright, so a QRadialGradient is going to need two things. It will need a starting point, meaning a center, because this, again, it will paint radially outward, which means that it's going to paint almost in a circular fashion in all outward directions. You'll see exactly what I mean when I draw this thing. So it needs a starting point. Think of it like the center of a circle. And then it needs a radius, how far out it's going to paint the colors that I give it. Okay, so I will be saying that this is going to start at the same position, or at least at the center of where my ball is. So if you take a closer look, my ball is at 300, 300. Okay, and it has a radius of 100. Alright, the width and height of the rectangle that houses that ball is 200 and 200, which means the radius is 100. Okay, so what I'm going to do is use the X and Y positions of that ball and simply add the radius to that. I'm going to punch the numbers in directly. So I'm going to say 400, 400, because that should be the center of where my ball is. Okay, and for the width, it should probably work just fine. It's probably the X and the Y positions that are giving me trouble. There it is. That's a whole lot better. Okay, now you can see that it's starting to fade a little bit outward. Towards the end, this fades into a black color. Okay, I am going to change the width there. Not the width, the radius of the gradient. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. Let's go with 1.2 maybe. There you go. You can see a bit more of the black edge. Okay. Now you see that thick red line at the edge simply because of the pen that I have that's painting the outline. So for now I am going to turn it to black. That way it blends in with the gradient. Okay, ooh, look at that, much better. So I'm going to add something in the constructor that is going to make the painting a little bit smoother. Okay, and this is called AntiAliasing. Alright, so you can look into the documentation as to exactly how that works, but I'm just going to whip through the code here and show you how to add this to make the drawing a little bit smoother. Okay, so I am going to tell the graphics view to set the render hint, and here I'm going to say for QPainter, there it is, QPainter, anti-aliasing. Okay. When you run this, you'll notice that your edges will look a little bit smoother, actually considerably smoother. So this ball is a lot smoother compared to what I had earlier. And just to show you a side by side, and this is the old one. Now maybe a little hard to see, but if you move really close or close enough, you will see that this one right here has smoother edges. Anyway, to some folks it might not really matter, but if you care about the detail, go ahead and add that to your code. Okay. Alright, so that is how you paint using a QRadialGradient. As I mentioned, there is another gradient called the QLinearGradient that you can look for in the documentation, and it works in a linear fashion, as the name states, moving either from left to right, up and down, or to whatever angle that you set it to. So you can have some fun with that one as well. This is it for the tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was educational and you had fun with it. Thanks. See you next time.